Hey, I'm Sarah Yarkin. I play Rhonda on School Spirits, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So I am so excited to be joined by today's guests. Today we're going to be talking school spirits with Rhonda herself, Sarah Yarkin. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. And I just want to start things off, guys, that this will have spoilers for episodes 1 through 6 for School Spirits Season 2. So just make sure if you aren't caught up that you have seen all the episodes. I imagine most of you guys probably are. But just to start things off, Sarah, for you, as far as with Season 2, we get to see a little bit more of, we see Rhonda open up, see a little bit more of a vulnerable side to her this season. What was it like to explore those aspects and those sides of Sarah or Rhonda this season?
Well, it kind of is the sides of Sarah, right? Like what you
Sure.
said. No, genuinely, because it's like, you can kind of only hope and dream as an actor that you're given material that you can like show what you can do, and I think that's sort of it feels exciting to be on a show where I'm a character that has all these walls up and then to be given this material where they're like, go for it. And it does feel like for as an actor, I'm like, oh my God, I earned it. Like they liked me enough in season 1. I get to like do real work. But it was exciting. It was exciting to be like, I know what I'm like, Sarah, when if this happened to me, what I would be like, well, how would Rhonda react? Or does Rhonda cry? How does Rhonda cry? Has she cried in 60 years? And having those questions. And Shihang, who I worked with as Quinn, is such an amazing actor. And there were some moments there where, like, I don't know, it even shocked me how open they were to me as an actor and maybe helped bring Rhonda's walls down a little. So it was exciting.
Actually going to ask is kind of like a follow-up to that question that in season 2 we get to see some new characters, specifically ghosts introduced in the season, which kind of changes up the dynamic of the core group of ghosts. And so specifically working with Rhonda and Quinn, what was it like just to work with her and kind of see that dynamic play out between those two characters?
Yeah, Shihang is, I mean, they're an amazing actor. They always surprised me. The first half of this season, I don't want to spoil more, but you're kind of getting this surface of who is this character. And as the season progresses, Rhonda, they have moments where I think they both help each other out. And I think it became a really beautiful thing that even at the beginning, I was like, how's this going to work? I'd have a chemistry test, with actors to play this character to see how do they interact. And I even called the Oliver Goldstick, our showrunner. I was like, wait, Rhonda's supposed to have chemistry with someone? What do you mean? Like, these sides aren't even nice to this person. And so I think Shihang brings such an amazing innocence and vulnerability and genuine curiosity to the character that I think is a little disarming to Rhonda.
And so this is for episode 6, and so this is why I wanted to mention in the beginning of the
Yeah.
episode. It's not so much spoilery, but there is a dance sequence in the episode
Mm.
that is one of my favorite sequences from the series so far. Because for me, and I don't know if that was the intention, it might have been, but it gave me some Breakfast Club vibes for sure.
Totally,
Which
totally.
okay, that's what you guys are going for. So
Yeah. There
can
was
you
there
talk
was
about
that
both of them?
comp and there was another comp and I have it written down like the Weekender. I don't remember. I should have written this down better. But there was it was a very like that kind of dance. We're going like in and out and whatever. And yeah, I was literally right before this watching this because they just released this episode. And I
Yeah.
was like, looking at the clips of us and there's rehearsal videos and we rehearsed for days. Like Nick and I are not dancers. Milo's a dancer. He can do whatever. He can do no harm. He's amazing. Nick and I were sitting there going, they want us to, how are we going to do this? So I think we were all a bit shocked that it happened and looks like we know what we're doing.
Well, it came out great, and I was going to ask you too, like how long it took to. So you said it took days to kind of get
It
up
was,
the
well, they
choreography
sent
down.
us, Katie Spellman is Nate Trinrud, the creator of Nate Trinrud and Megan Trinrud. Katie Spellman is like a dear friend of his, and she is, I mean, an incredible choreographer. Like Broadway, I mean, she's doing it all. She's incredible. And she just did this as a favor and choreographed this. So she recorded these videos and we got it on like Dropbox. And I remember being like, okay, it'll be like what, a 30-second dance? Like how hard could that be? I did dance in high school. And we looked, Nick and I were watching these videos and there were like 5 minutes of dancing.
And you're like, oh no.
there's this sequence, there's B sequence, and I'm sitting there going, I don't have very good like putting that on me. How do I do that? And then we had rehearsals and days, and we were in a studio. I mean, like days of rehearsing. Out.
Well, hey,
I was very worried.
it came out great. Just letting you know, like I said, it's
Thank
one of my
you.
favorite sequences from the show so far, and big reason like Breakfast Club is one of my favorite movies of all time. So just kind of getting to see you guys make your own, sort of dance inspired by that. It was a lot of fun, and I was hoping it was going on because I was like, oh, is it maybe just going to be like a 30-second kind of thing? But
That's
it
what
goes
we
on for
thought, but
quite a
no.
while. So, episode three, a little bit earlier in the season, Rhonda gets to visit her own personal hell, which probably one of the creepier moments, like when we see these characters start exploring those different moments, and it's very traumatic for her. What was it like to kind of tap into that mindset for that character at that time and filming that specific scene?
Yeah, that was crazy. We were working with this amazing director who directed a lot of season one too, Brian Danley, and we had talked about these scenes so much. Like Rhonda didn't have a flashback in season one, and so I knew going into season two this was going to happen. And I think it was something I thought about for 2 years before shooting it of like, we're gonna see this one day. I don't know to what extent, but we're gonna see something. And I mean, the set deck, Charley is amazing. I mean, she made the room look so good. The actual flashback to the 60s and then the Red Room 60s and going into that room, I mean, it was all like crazy. It was sort of hard not to put pressure on myself to get there, but I loved doing the flashback of Rhonda actually in the 60s and then flipping and being like in the Red Room and kind of switching between those two gears. And I
Yeah.
think Brian did an amazing job directing of like this is Rhonda walking down the hallway with this excitement, and then we're doing then the next shot of walking down seconds after this fight with the group and seeing Rhonda, even like when I saw it, when I finally watched it, and I was like, Rhonda's smiling. Like Rhonda walked into this room excited. Like there are these things where I don't even think of Rhonda as a person who smiles. And getting to show that and show that she was a person with hope and excitement before all of this was I don't know. I felt like it was a really, really cool experience to get to do.
It kind of reminds me, you saying that where you don't think that she was a character that smiled a lot. It reminds me of Wednesday Addams from, I believe it's
Totally,
Family
yeah.
Values, where she like tries to smile that one time and it just ends up creeping everybody out because they're like, "You're not supposed to smile.
Right.
What are you doing?"
But that's how it feels. And then to see her before she died, it was like heartbreaking. Like when it all
Yeah.
came together and I was like, oh, this edit works. Where I was shooting it, I was like, am I doing this right? Like, so I think it all came together. I think the lighting in there, I think the edit is so cool. Like cuts to Rhonda and then it cuts back there. And I was very impressed with how it came out because shooting it, I was like, I mean, I think just as an actor, I'm always kind of doubting myself, but I was a little in my head going, am I doing this right? Like we have to show the moment. Shit, like, am I doing this right?
Well, again, another great scene. I've been loving season two so far from what I've got to seen. So you guys have done
Oh, thank you.
an amazing job. You're welcome. Now, as far as so in season one, we find out that Maddie is able to communicate with Simon because of the close connection that they had. I'm curious for you, who would be that equivalent for you in the cast, and why? Why do you guys have such a close connection? I know you guys are all pretty close, working on the series.
Yeah.
Is there one that maybe sticks out specifically for you?
Like if I was
If you were
dead,
a ghost.
if I was a ghost, who
Yep.
would I want to be able to speak with in the cast?
Yeah, who do you have that like closest connection with that you think you'd be
Out
able
of and sorry, just to make sure I understand the rules of the question, out of anyone in the cast or someone who's alive in the cast?
anyone in the cast. Anyone in the cast.
I mean, probably Nick because he's a close friend of mine, or Peyton because she's a really close friend of mine. But I also feel like it would be really cool to be able to talk to like Maria Dizia, who plays Sandra. I love her so much, and she's such an amazing actor and like a mentor to me. So it'd be great to kind of run things by her and be like, she's just such a beautiful, wonderful person. She would be kind of a great influence, I think.
Definitely be helpful for you then.
Yeah,
As
she would
far
help
as
me with self tapes for sure in the afterlife. She would like
there you go.
coach me really well for auditions.
Now, if you had to, if there is there any famous haunted locations, whether it's in the United States or any other countries that you would love to maybe, if you had the opportunity to go there and communicate with those spirits, Is there a particular location that you would love to visit and do that with?
Oh, I've never thought. I genuinely am. I'm not the most spiritual ghost believing person. We were just doing press in this room at the Hollywood Roosevelt, and I everyone said that Marilyn Monroe stayed there, like that was her room, and that she haunts it. But I just didn't really
Wow.
like buy that. I feel like if I had a moment that convinced me, I'd be convinced. But I think until then, I stay unconvinced.
That's because I was going to ask you, are you someone that kind of believes in the supernatural? So you're not so
I
much of a
I
believer.
think I'd have to have an experience to go, yeah, this is what's happening.
Well, I'll
And I
tell
would love
you,
to have that experience, but I don't think I've had that yet.
I had one when I was a freshman year, high school. Me and a couple friends, we went to go visit these World War bunkers, and we went there, had brand new flashlights because these were all completely underground, so you couldn't see anything. It was pitch black in there. So we went to go visit them because they're like, "Oh, you got to check it out," because they know I love Halloween, I love all the spooky kind of stuff. So they're like, "All right, let's go check it out." So we get in there, go into one of the rooms. You can tell other people have like been in there at different times because there's like candles and like graffiti
Yeah.
on the walls and stuff. We get to this one room and all of our flashlights go out at the same time and they shut off for probably I'd say like a good minute. And then they all ended up popping back on at the same time after about like a good minute. And I'm one that's some pretty good with, scary stuff, things like
Yeah.
that. And I was just in that moment, I was like, all right, I think it's time to get out of here. I've had
Yeah,
my
I don't
experience. I'm
love
good.
that.
Yeah, it was
Where were you? Where was this?
oh, so this was in New Hampshire. It was kind of
Okay.
like right on like the sea coast, but
Wow.
there's a lot of history
Yeah,
like out here,
that's
especially at Salem,
crazy.
Massachusetts and stuff too.
Totally. We went there when I was a kid, and I remember going to like the museums there. I kind of love that stuff, but
Yeah, don't know if you'd want to necessarily run into like any
yeah,
ghosts.
like I've heard because we've been, we've done interviews with the cast and we've been asked this question, and Nick has a crazy story and Christian has a crazy story. I think Kiara has one, but I'm sort of like, oh my God, that's crazy that happened to you.
You haven't had that. Yeah, haven't had that moment for me
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, I want to believe, and I feel like when I hear stories and I go, I wish we could communicate with this person, that maybe that could happen,
Yeah,
but who
well,
knows?
we'll see. We
We'll
got
see what
time.
happens to me, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'd love to know.
An
And
update.
in season two, we get to explore, expand this world, explore these characters a little bit more. Like the one thing which we kind of saw at the end of season one with the finale, but being the ghost being able to jump into other bodies. As far as for just like the season overall, what have been maybe some of your favorite elements to expand on from season one that you've guys done in season two, or maybe even a new element that was introduced that you've loved to explore this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think which we get into at the beginning of this season are these red rooms and these scars. They call them scars and red rooms. And I remember Megan Trinrud, we took a walk like a year ago in LA and we were talking. I was like, what are you thinking? Because the writer's room hadn't started yet. And I was like, what's going on? And she was sort of explaining them to me. And as she was explaining them to me, I was like, oh, wait, there should be this. And it was the idea. And she was like, no, that's what we're doing. And it's the memory and blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, and I'm going to be there with Mr. Manfredo. And it sort of felt like, I mean, I know they had come up with it already, but as it just felt so right for where the show needed to go. And that it's not like an actual Mr. Anderson's room. It's a hellscape. It's a memory. It's a nightmare, right? And I love that. I love that idea of like we all have past traumas, and I feel like sometimes we do get sucked back into them and we get back into that headspace and we're in that loop and we're in that spiral. And to see the physical manifestation of that, I found just like incredibly interesting. And that being a way out and them kind of having to go through these rooms and Dawn and that all coming back and figuring out that mystery, I just think it tied together perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, this season, specifically, I feel like for your character, has kind of been the emotional gauntlet that you've had to kind of got to go through. You've had the emotional scenes where, like the Red Room, You've
Mhm.
also had the scenes where you find out about the song that's you
Yeah.
thought was written about you in a negative way, and you find out it was actually in a positive way. But then you had some fun scenes early on in the season where you get to just destroy the dispenser in the bathroom. You
Oh
get to
yeah.
scream at the ghosts. So what is it kind of, I guess, just like it must have been fun, well, I'm sure daunting at times, just like emotionally, but what has that been like for you this season?
Oh, it was great. It was so sick. My dog was with me in Vancouver, and my partner was with me, and so I felt bad because I was like, okay, so I have to scream today, so I'm gonna be like in the apartment like screaming because I have to practice this, and my dog just staring at me like, what's going on? But it was great. I mean, I feel like season one, all of the work for me was like I have a lot of energy as a person. I think I'm quite emotive, and how to be like Rhonda would not raise her hand. Like Rhonda's breath is like this, and I'm like this. And so I think all of season one was like calming myself. And so I feel like there's a natural instinct. I want to scream. Like I cry all the time. Like there was something exciting of getting to actually bring a little more Sarah into it. Like I think I'm more like Rhonda in season two than in season one.
So that must have, I mean, it seemed like it was a lot of fun, just being
Oh,
able
it
to,
was
I'm
the
sure,
best.
exhilarating just to kind of let yourself go in some of those scenes as well.
Yeah, and to like have that challenge and be like, can I do this? And I just scream at these band kids, and they were an actual high school band. And I went up to each of them. I was like, I'm so sorry. And like some of them would break, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna come. I'm gonna be this close to you. Like, I'm so sorry. And we got to see them later. It was great. It was like it was a lot of fun.
It's good that, that you checked in with them too. I'm sure they
Yeah, I was like, I
appreciate
know it's
it.
like 1 a.m. We're shooting this scene. I'm screaming at you. Like, I'm so sorry.
Is just to wrap things up for you, Sarah, is there anything else as far as that you want to say about the show or anything that you can kind of just tease what fans can expect for the rest of the season?
Mm. I feel like the season, I feel like I just watched episode 8. They just gave it to us, and I
Ooh.
scrolled through to parts. I didn't want to watch the whole thing. I scrolled through to parts. It's so, I was sobbing. I was laughing. I had every emotion.
Oh,
I called the
geez.
creators. I said, I'm hysterical right now. And I was there, right? Like, why am I so emotional? I think they did such an amazing job wrapping up this season and leaving it on a note that I have called them. I said, what is supposed to happen after this, if there is an after this?
And
Because
they're like, we're not
it's
telling
like
you.
shocking. They're like, we can't tell you, we don't know, blah blah. But I think it culminates in a grand finale that I don't think anyone sees coming.
I did see, I think I saw some interviews talking about just the finale, how some people were able to guess, I think, the end of season one, but they were saying this season that no one's gonna have any idea like how this is gonna all kind of wrap up, which I can't wait to see.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I had heard about theories for season one, and I haven't really heard much for season two. I haven't seen as much. But I didn't see this coming like at all. Um, yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, that's very exciting for fans. We got a handful of more episodes to go. And Sarah, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today, getting to talk to you about the show. It was wonderful having you on, and you are welcome back anytime in the future.
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation. Hey, I'm Sarah Yarkin. I play Rhonda on School Spirits, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.